Hi everybody, this is my elevator speech for Module 3, Social Skills and Motivation. It's important to remember that students with EBD may have problems or have an inability to build or maintain satisfactory interpersonal relationships with peers and teachers. Being that this is part of the definition of EBD, even more the importance to remember that these skills need to be taught explicitly for students with EBD who struggle with this type of inability. So that's something to have in mind. And I really enjoyed the video from Dr. Ablon, and I liked a lot of what he said, but part of what will stick with me the longest probably is I will always remember that the problem is a deficit of skill, not will. And I really liked what he had to say that kids do well if they can. I mean, if they could, they really would do well. And it's not about making kids want to do well. We have to grow that intrinsic motivation, I think, in students with EBD and other learning differences that have problems making these connections about social skills. And I really agree that conventional wisdom is wrong. Oh my goodness, I mean, how long have we seen these types of ideals where you can just make a kid do what they should at home and at school? I still have conversations about that with family, to be completely honest. And I really, again, stand by that this is more about a deficit of skill, not about will. And I like what Dr. Ablon said when he quoted his grandfather, that when you give a dog a name, it eventually will answer to it. And sadly, I think the same is true about children and students. If a kid keeps hearing that they're lazy, if they keep hearing that they are poorly behaved or BAD, then they will learn to answer to it. I'd put that BAD in all caps because before I was in education, I was volunteering a lot at my child's elementary school. And I think I asked a question about a student who was misbehaving. And I think I asked, did they maybe had a difference and maybe that's why they were misbehaving. And I think the professional at the time told me, no, that kid's not ADD or ADHD, that kid's just BAD. And looking back at that now, I think that was a really poor attitude to have about children, because I do believe that if kids can do well, then they will. And I also got from that video that it's important to remember that kids' development happens at very different rates, and that we have to shift our thinking. And we must teach skills in real time during the situation when it's happening and allow for students to practice those skills. I equated this to parenting, that you parent like no one else is watching. And I think maybe that could apply to teaching as well. Like every situation is a learning experience, can be a teaching experience as well. So I'm also excited about the next generation of adults because a lot of the next generation of adults will have exposure to social emotional learning, and they will develop social skills and will be able to resolve issues. And if I'm being real, that many of the next generation of adults will be able to exercise these skills a lot better than today's adults. I'm just saying. And again, I was reminded about the stages of learning. During the acquisition phase, students are still developing the skill. During the fluency part, students are practicing the skill. And maintenance, students are completing the task in the same setting repeatedly. Generalization, students now have used the skill across different settings. And adaptation is when a student knows how to do the skill and they can do it in a variety of settings and in every situation. In my mind, that's mastery. So I enjoyed Lily as well during this part of the module. And teaching social skills increases instructional time and improves student interactions. And it increases the instructional time because we're having to deal with those behaviors less because we've taught students how to deal with those behaviors. And it also increases student productivity and improves daily social interactions for the same reasons, because we're not constantly having to correct, or manage behavior, because we've taught students how to use their behaviors or how to display them appropriately. Teaching social skills helps students to make friends and helps them to fit in. Teaches students essential life skills. It helps students to function better in classes by learning how to follow the rules and expectations. Teaching social skills increases self-confidence, self-concept, and self-esteem in so many ways. And it also gives students a common language. This is something they're learning together. And here, how to teach social skills. First, it's important to assess the students to see what to teach and how to teach. And then to teach the social skills, you can use social stories, which is an evidence-based practice, which I did not realize before. Social stories are a social learning tool that supports the safe and meaningful exchange of information between parents, professionals, and students with EBD. The people who develop social stories are referred to as authors, and they work on behalf of a child, adolescent, student with EBD in the audience. So this was presented to us in the world of autism, but I just kind of switched it over to EBD. And the role playing is when we get to act out roles and practice while we're learning. It's almost like a theater production in the classroom, which I'm really excited about role playing. I think it's a lot of fun. I've done this a lot with my own kids at home, and I'm excited about using it in the classroom. And I also like video modeling a lot. We use this with applied behavioral analysis to show students, to teach them how to do things. And I like it because this is a mode of learning where students can pause and rewind or watch something over and over again. My son loves to watch YouTube videos repeatedly over and over and over. So this was kind of the perfect tool for him to learn a new skill. So like it says here, the student watches the model demonstrate the skill. Then after watching the video, the student begins to imitate skills from the video. Skills performed can either be new skills learned or changes to existing behaviors. The student then begins to generalize or utilize the skill in his or her normal environment. This usually requires intervention and practice in the environment. Like I said, I made a task analysis on how to make soup, and I posted it to YouTube with my older son, and I remember showing it to my younger son to practice it because, I did it for a class and wanted to see if it worked. And he just thought it was so amazing that his brother's on YouTube. But anyway, he likes YouTube a lot. And another part of this teaching is involving families and encouraging them to do their homework with their child and to continue these practices at home for homework. And you could send them the link to the YouTube video, and that could help them to do the homework and to practice. So I like all those social skills methods. Motivation. Oh, yes. Some students are highly motivated and want to please. Others need more encouragement. We have to grow that intrinsic motivation, I think, through external motivators like candy and whatever they like. It's important to get to know the student and build that relationship so that I can figure out what they like and use that to help them to learn and to improve their growth mindset, if you will. And I did mention that here too, that there are two types, the fixed and the growth, and growth mindset is what we need. So again, I plan to use student interest to inspire a growth mindset that will motivate students through relationship. For me, it starts with relationship, and so that I can learn the student, learn what they like, learn what works for them, and help to teach them. So that's what I have.